Alright, this is my Drawlloween watercolor mermaidiness for day 2. The prompt was costume contest. So here I am doing another time lapse, and so far my process has been similar to the previous prompt the day prior, which is to do a sketch in pencil and then work on it with watercolor. So here I am. I first wetted the paper in the background with water, and then I started doing wet into wet technique, dropping in with some greenish, bluish stuff in the background here, trying to layer that up. I think my intention to eventually get a nice kind of vignette feel. Here I start adding in some color to my mermaid. My concept ended up being that this mermaid was dressed up as the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, and I guess it's more favoring the conceptual colors and such of Disney's Alice in Wonderland because of all the purple and pink I end up using in her costume. But it was really fun. I mean, it's weird, you know, like to have a fuzzy, furry mer cat kind of thing. So I thought that was fun. I wanted her to kind of seem a little mystical and otherworldly. I mean, all mermaids have that, but I added a kind of yellowy, glowy halo. I wanted her to really pop from the depths. And yeah, I mean, this is really good exercise for me. I really want to brush up and get better at watercolor. You know, I've been working with acrylic for years. Watercolor is probably the first medium I ever really worked with as a kid, you know, so it's kind of going back into my knowledge of watercolor experiments as a kid and kind of relearning them. For a long time, for recently, I've been doing a pen and ink illustration and then working on top of the pen and ink with watercolor, and then having to go back over and ink, you know, over my ink drawing because it had been made murky by the layers of watercolor. So I'm proud to say I've finally figured out you do the sketch in pencil, you put a bunch of color down on top of your pencil work, and it doesn't look like it's anything until you add your final strokes, your darks and your lights and lining if you're going to do that. And I don't know, it's hard sometimes. You gotta just trust in the process, because it seems like each one of these that I do that way, I'm like, I don't know if it's gonna turn out to be anything that anybody wants to look at. But you know, just as soon as I kind of turn all these blobby color blobs into, you know, more formed, refined shapes which I'm absolutely loving with a quill pen, or also a combination with a very thin liner brush, still using India ink that I am using the quill pen with. Once I do a once over, a couple times over with the India ink, I think it just really, you know, the piece suddenly is. It kind of comes out of its like awkward tween moment and blossoms before my very eyes. My painting's all grown up. So that's what I'm doing right now. As you can see, I'm using a quill pen to do some scratchy line work in there, and just getting some fine detail. I love quill pens and how fine you can really get detailing, and kind of how scratchy and almost emotional the lines end up being. I think I'm a lot more expressive with quill pen versus my usual in my sketchbook when I'm drawing is more of a Faber-Castell Pitt artist pen, India ink pen, which I guess is a felt tip. a hard felt tip. So I don't know. I really love the quill pens. They're pretty dynamic, and I love the rough, looseness of quill pens with the interesting variables of color that watercolor produces. You saw I just used some acrylic paint to add some highlights in the form. Now I'm going back in with some darker blues in the background to create some ambiance, I suppose. There's some mushrooms. I just put in a school of fish, and now I have made the executive decision to really try and get a nice vignette, like a nice kind of dark edge all around. So I kind of do a combination of things. I just grab some of that black watercolor, lay it down, then I'll kind of smudge it with just water, just drop into it with water to kind of make it a little bit more subtle and flow better with the paint that's already there. And then I just keep doing that, lots of layers. The thing about watercolor is it dries very light, and it is kind of frustrating me, and I'm going to have to explore possibly using gouache in the future, I think. Once this Drawlloween challenge is over, I'd like to try gouache because I think I miss the opacity sometimes that acrylic provides. That's just really not there with watercolor. You just have to be endlessly patient with layering and layering and layering. But it's a good exercise, and I'm really happy that I'm trying to stick with this idea that I'm doing a watercolor painting each day based on these Drawlloween prompts. So at this point, I was discussing with friend and collector Carissa my piece. I was showing her work in progress photos, and she was like, you know, there's really something kind of missing over. It almost looks like she could be holding something. Maybe you should, you know, have her holding like the severed head of one of the other Alice Wonderland characters. So I was like, I don't know, man. Like, that's a tiny, tiny spot. I mean, this is a tiny painting. It's a 4x6, and now I'm gonna add a severed rabbit head in there. She's like, nah, you can do it, man. So here I am. I loved the concept. I think it kind of fit better into the whole Halloween contest vibe because, you know, a solitary figure doesn't really make you think contest. So here the story begins to kind of unfold on perhaps costume contests are a little bit more cutthroat down in deep dark sea than us two-leggers could ever fathom. So perhaps this was another mermaid who this other one beheaded when she realized that there might be some competition. I don't know. So here I am. It was fun too to also get to try and do communicate blood seepage into water. That was fun to kind of paint there. And I think it really made, like, the bunny head thing really made the whole piece. I'm really happy I did it. And thank you, Carissa. Sometimes you need a second pair of eyes on your art. And I'm lucky to have quite a few people who aren't afraid to give me honest critiques and opinions and kind of, you know, push me. So, yay! I'm such a brat. I'm a spoiled brat. So here the piece is all finished on my easel area in my little art studio, my art cave. And trying to make it all spooky. Look, I decorated it with like some mushroom, like a mushroom thing, and a skull, and a little glowy lantern, and a teacup. Yeah, I'm a nerd, but I love atmosphere. So I just wanted to show you an interesting presentation. This piece has actually already been sold, but check out my Instagram, which is Lucid Rose, @LucidRose. Also follow me on Facebook, which is Chelsea Rose Arts, because I will be painting one of these things every day for the month of October. And if you're interested in collecting or just collecting one of the original finished paintings, or just, you know, following along with my creative journey, those are good places to check out. But I will try to be updating YouTube periodically. Yeah. Oh look, there's Sushi Cat. There's my cat Sushi. He's a little jerk, but I love him. I love him so much. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. More coming shortly. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. All right. Much love, much spooky love to you all. Sushi, get your tail out of the way. All right. Bye.